This is Justin. The stage is yours, Justin. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. I've had so much fun in this meetup.
We're looking forward to this.
I've had a lot of fun, and I'm just grateful to be here and be a part of the community. Let's get the awkward stuff out of the way. I am an American. Now's your opportunity to boo. Boo. Thank you.
You asked us to do.
I did ask you to earlier. All right, so this talk is a little bit weird, and if you need to get up and leave in shame, that's fine too. My best practices are a button now. I submitted a talk to this conference, and it wasn't accepted because of just cost. It costs a lot of money to fly somebody from America. But I came here anyways to attend, and I had the opportunity to speak anyways, which is great, and I'm really happy about it. But I was chatting with the organizer, and I said, "Don't feel bad you said no to my talk. I wouldn't accept it either." And he said, "What do you mean?" And really it's because the ground has shifted beneath us. What I thought was cutting edge 7 months ago when I prepared this talk and gave it somewhere else is completely obsolete now. So let's talk about who I am. My name is Justin McMurdie. I've been writing software for 12 plus years, which I think in English means I can say that I've been writing software for decades. Which gives me some street cred. I am a former open source maintainer. I helped maintain a project called SingleSpa. That's micro front ends. I was involved in that heavily for several years. I'm no longer a maintainer. It's a messy subject. But I am responsible for an incredibly powerful feature within the library that confuses the hell out of everyone. So I'm sorry in advance. I'm a Utah.js conference organizer. If you feel safe to travel to America, hit me up. We are accepting talks right now or proposals. And I don't know how that last one got there. So we'll move on. In September 2025, I gave a talk. It was titled Practical AI, how to build a Rust QR code generator that runs in the browser on the web without knowing any Rust. And I think all of you know the answer. You vibe code the shit out of it. I was proud of that talk. Tonight I'm going to tell you why I'd reject that talk if I received it today. Okay, so I've been working on the Adobe Express product for a couple of years. And several years ago I was tasked with building the QR code generator. This is the tie-in. This is why I care about QR codes. I built the first version of the QR code generator, and it's changed a lot since I built the initial version. The good news is I get to take credit for it, but somebody else has to maintain it. Within a few weeks of building that, I had requests from half a dozen different teams because they wanted to incorporate it in other Adobe products. And the reason for that is that Adobe Express is on a new framework within Adobe, and it's pretty cool. If you haven't used the Express product, give it a try. There's my plug. These other teams wanted to use our QR code generator, but the QR code library that we were using was client-side JS, and the teams who were asking were Objective-C, Python, Java, Scala, C, Swift, and I had to tell them, I can't help you unless you want to embed the whole JavaScript runtime in your application. And weirdly, none of them wanted to. It was an open source library, and I probably should have let this problem go and just moved on with my day job. But the cracks started to show with the library we were using. We chose a library based on the API and the features and the functionality, but it has two rendering paths internally. One path for SVG and one path for JPEG and PNG. And there's a design choice within that, how they chose to render the SVG, where it actually doesn't work very well in any other editor. And for a user, that's a terrible look. Let me use Adobe Express and generate a QR code. I'm going to export it as SVG and open an Illustrator, and what is this? I only discovered it because I found a YouTube video about how to make it work that had several hundred views. I, did what most people would do, and I went, I'm just going to go fix it in the source. And I found the source, and it's hobbyware. And that's not great because I couldn't update it and get a pull request merged. So I thought I can fix it with more hobbyware. I can build my own QR code generator. And I wanted to fix it, but fixing a problem is fun, but fixing a problem and learning something new at the same time is way more fun. And so I decided, I was kind of behind the times on this whole vibe coding trend. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to see if I can vibe code this. I'm going to force myself to use a language I don't know. And I'm going to go through this process and see if I can vibe code well. So I chose Rust. I made some architecture decisions. I wanted a single rendering path so that my testing would be easier. I wouldn't have to worry about bugs in one version or another. I wanted the SVG output to be compatible with Adobe Illustrator, small thing. I wanted full control of the rendering. But as I started digging into it, I realized I didn't want to really write a QR code generator. There's a lot of complication there. So I found a Rust library and I just wrote a renderer around the library. So I control rendering, it controls generation. I knew I was going to use AI and I thought, why not one more challenge? Let's do it for free. Only free tools. All right. There would have been a lot more demos at this point in my original talk. Now I'm just going to jump to what I learned, and then we're going to talk about why that's all useless. So what I learned was, too fast. You have to document your project goals first, and you need to prompt the AI with your project goals. AI is only as good as the context. You want to use multiple agents because every agent has pros and cons. I chose the default cursor agent for generation. I chose perplexity for non-coding and research tasks. And then I had Claude criticize me and the code. And that was actually a really big insight for me. Having multiple agents fighting each other is kind of a funny re-implementation of adversarial training, which is done in the machine learning space. Granted, my code wasn't learning, the agents weren't learning from it, I was learning from it. I did cheat here. Perplexity is a paid service, but I was a student at the time, so it was free. So there's a little asterisk on that. So demo, I want to show what I built. So it is not super fancy, but it is a QR code generator. This is google.com. It's in Rust and it's in the browser. I can type as fast as I want, and it's just going to render. I control the rendering layer, so I can do dots and rounded, and the rounded doesn't look great. Well, all right, we're going to do color first. I can pick terrible colors, make it look really pretty. Let's do dots. All right, so full control of the rendering. My goal was to replace the Adobe QR code generator with this. So what I thought I figured out, this is it. This is the takeaways. Document, preload your context with architecture decision records, style guides, cursor rules, windsurf rules, whatever you're using. I think that the no sycophancy rule is essential, because it turns out humans really like being told we're right, and AI has figured that out. So I give it a bad idea and it would tell me what a great idea. And I tell it to stop complimenting me and then it would yell at me. So you have to find that balance in. I don't want a sycophant, I want a colleague. Use multiple agents, adversarial code reviews, and keep humans in the loop. So I gave this talk in September of 2025, longer version. Well, I'm already at 10 minutes, so not that much longer. And this is what I ended with. AI is changing things, and I think it's essential that we don't let our tools rob us of our curiosity and our capability. They're part of what makes engineering fun. And I meant it. I meant that closing. And then yesterday morning happened. So literally yesterday morning, I finally had time to revisit this project. It's been sitting because I've been busy. It's hobbyware, right? And I took my code base and I ran it through a new tool that I've been experimenting with. The tool isn't really important, but for transparency, it's called GSD, or Get Shit Done. It's with Claude. You can use Claude, you can use Pi, anything under the hood, anything you choose. And I just took that tool and said, here's the QR code library, process it, map the code base. I didn't configure anything. I didn't tell it about any bugs that I knew existed. I didn't mention performance. You didn't actually see the performance problem because this is the new code. I asked it to look at the project. And it found a bug that I'd been ignoring for months with performance. I didn't tell it to, and it flagged it on its first pass. Oh, yeah, that's it. And then it said, would you like me to fix it? I said, sure. And I fixed it on its first pass. I want everyone to feel that sequence there. I've been working on something for months, thinking I was being so innovative, and the tool just felt like it replaced me overnight. Really over 7 months, but it was overnight to me. All right, I want to jump to I want to show you what it caught, because I think this is the real point here. This is what matters. All right, so this is what it came up with when I said map the code base. It walked through my code, it analyzed everything, but in my code base, I had all those architecture decision records. I had all my documentation. I worked really hard on that aspect of the project. So it walked through, it read everything, read the docs, confirmed everything, and started just flagging things. I was using dangerously set inner HTML. I was injecting user-supplied strings directly into it. It's hobbyware. Cut me some slack. There was no input length or content validation. The triangle feature, which I actually haven't turned on yet, ignored shape and color configuration. It was also using squares under the hood, and it called me out for that. And then it found the bug. Unbeknownst to me, I was double rendering every time, which I'm generating these huge SVGs and shrinking them down, and I was doing that twice for each thing on the page. So every time you type, I have 6 processing threads that are happening. And there's my performance problem. It found it, pointed exactly to the line, told me what I did wrong, and said, you used this method call by mistake. You should have used this one. You're right, I vibe coded. I wasn't paying attention. And I don't know Rust still. The encoder receives RGBA data. And then it flagged technical debt. I had console logs and things I just left in there because I didn't care. Then it found out that my CI was never running my tests. It found out that the tool chain I'm using is deprecated. And I knew that going in because I couldn't find a great way to take my Rust code into a WASM without using a deprecated tool, and I just went with it. Because it was learning. Anyways, it found a ton of things and then asked me some open questions. This is the moment I began wondering, who am I as a software developer? Let's flip back over. And I'm going to, let's see. Okay, we back. I felt grief at that moment. It's okay to say. It's okay for all of us to say. I watched it do in an hour what took me, I don't know, let's say a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, doesn't matter. It took me a lot of time. I orchestrated it manually. Those were best practices I was proud of, and it felt like it had figured it out with the touch of a button. It replaced my practices with a tool. And so that multi-agent workflow I taught you, it's in the tool now. So every best practice on that list is now either automated, built in, or is table stakes. And what's left for us? This is where I'm going to get really opinionated. And some of these opinions are directly mine, and some I have stolen. I have heard talk that AI is the one ring of Sauron. It was forged in the fires of Mount Doom in secret. It is fundamentally evil and is only capable of producing evil. Doesn't matter how good you are. I don't know if anybody else loves Lord of the Rings, but Gandalf was afraid of the ring because he would use it for good, and through him it would be evil. It can only serve darkness. I have heard it said that AI is the Holy Grail. Indiana Jones taught us that it rewards the worthy and destroys the rest. It's the answer. It's the thing we've been looking for. I'm going to say that both are wrong. And I don't think that's actually that controversial of an opinion. I think anything on the extremes is probably wrong. A tool doesn't have morality baked in. And if you take a moment and back up, AI was trained on humanity. And humanity is capable of good and evil. As a system or a tool, in some ways, it's our child. It is the offspring of our intellect's output. It's an imperfect child, but which children aren't? I know my parents would tell you I was a very imperfect child. I would say that AI is an amplifier. And I'm not saying that it's going to amplify your productivity. We've talked about the 10x engineer, the 100x engineer, or whatever. It's not going to amplify you. The tool is neutral. It will amplify the opinions you feed it. It will amplify your values, your curiosity, your slop. And that's because weak opinions let's say weak and uninformed, and with powerful tools, is only capable of producing confident mediocrity that is shipped very quickly. And then there's a half-life problem as well. In September of 2025, I had a huge insight. But now I'm realizing that business objectives are really about output. My company doesn't care as much about, I actually think Adobe does care about what I know and what I learn, but not every company does. They care about what is produced and shipped to the consumer. And it felt 5 years ago or 10, I don't know. It felt many years ago that I was rewarded for my intellectual curiosity because it increased my level of expertise, and then I could leverage that to ship code faster, which is what they wanted. But they were rewarding behavior I wanted to do. And it felt like we were in alignment. AI is exposing that misalignment. It's making it visible. Whatever you think you know right now has an expiration date measured in months, weeks, days, except for some things. Framework churn, I should have showed this first. It really increased the impact. Framework churn used to be years, and I'm talking about framework churn within months, within my own framework that I wrote. So you are the opinion maker. You're not a decision maker in the abstract. This is inspired by a blog post my friend Anthony Frainer shared on LinkedIn. He is awesome. Read his blog post. It's probably better than this. You are the person who decides how things should be done, what quality means, and what the human experience should feel like. Not just how it should work, but what it should feel like. AI can tell you what the common opinion on any topic is by looking at all, let's say the world is finite, 200 opinions. And it can synthesize them and then give you a 201st opinion that is the mixture of everything. That's not actually helpful in building something useful. The opinion that you have is still yours. So if you come into this with an informed, educated opinion, you understand how things should be built, and you can take the tool and use that to increase the reach of your opinion, we have a lot of room to grow. This whole story is about opinions. I chose Rust. I maybe should have chose something else. I chose a single render path. There's arguments for 2 render paths. I wouldn't have had as bad of a double render problem if I had 2 different paths. I chose SVG compatibility. That's not optional. The tool, I documented my decisions, and the tool executed on that intent and found a bug I missed because my intent was clear. If you form better opinions and let the tool grow dramatically better at executing them, and you can base that in engineering knowledge and practice, the sky's the limit. The tools that we're using are scaling at a point that we can't keep track, we can't manage it line by line anymore, and it's only going to get worse. The opinions were always mine, and now they're being amplified, and that's pretty cool. A friend of mine told me that there's never been a better time to be a founder of a company, because these tools are increasing capability. It's democratizing things, but that's a double-edged sword. We need to figure out where we fit in that. And I would argue that we just moved up the stack. We're not doing machine code. We're not doing byte code. We're not doing whatever was above that. Fortran, Abaddon, JavaScript. We're up here now for a lot of stuff. We still have to dip down occasionally, just like people used to have to do from Fortran to bytecode, or actually I don't know if they did that, but I assume they did. I want to end with what I ended with before. Engineering is the intersection of curiosity and capability. Please don't let your tools rob you of what it means to be human, and rob you of either of those wonderful things. Thank you. I have a QR code that I generated with my library. This is feedback form. It's not a particularly complex form. Feel free to tell me what I got wrong. Thank you so much for being here.